hell was this?
Oh, Adam, you didn't watch this one.
You didn't like it?
This is
I didn't see this.
this is oh, Adam, I have a feeling you've pretty much seen this movie. This is Lift, the heist movie that's kind of like secret agent stuff on Netflix, starring Kevin Hart. Crystal, since you were very vocal, did you like this one?
I did. I actually did. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Fuck you.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it.
Do you watch like heist movies?
Not often, but my boyfriend does, and he makes me watch them, and I'm sleeping.
Or not even like a heist movie, but like a Mission Impossible, something like that.
Yeah, but I wasn't going in thinking it was going to be like that.
No,
Kevin
what I'm saying
Hart.
is, if you haven't seen good versions of this concept, I can understand.
I have seen good heist movies, but I wasn't going in thinking this was going to be a good heist movie. I had fun watching it. Sorry.
Really?
I thought it was just like a fun, go lucky, little comedy. I liked the characters.
They all were comedy?
Yikes.
It was action comedy, basically.
I did. You're gonna have to point out.
It wasn't serious.
You're gonna have to point out the comedy. What's his face? Kingpin doing fancy accents. Was that funny?
I enjoyed it. Whatever. It was something dumb. I could turn my brain off, and I actually enjoyed watching it. Go fuck yourself.
I agree that it was dumb and you could turn your brain off, but I did not enjoy this one. So yeah, basically, it's a team of people. They're like robbers or whatever. They pull off big heists with wealthy people, but they're also like Robin Hood. They only steal from like bad people.
He has an appreciation for art. So if it's a lot of people that are just buying art I actually did like that concept, because people do buy it just for clout and like, oh, I have this and this, but there's no appreciation for the actual art. And he loves art, and he's trying to do exactly that, is take it and actually sell it to someone that actually has an appreciation for it.
Yeah.
Who likes art? Who's this person you're talking about? Kevin?
Kevin Hart likes art.
Kevin Art?
Kevin Hart likes art.
Kevin Hart.
In the opening mission, he has to kidnap an artist so that his like art, his NFTs or whatever, would be more valuable. And the artist is like Spider-Man's fat friend from the new Spider-Man movies. And I'm like, oh, there's that guy. But this movie, it's like Netflix schlock. And Adam, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Where does this? How does this compare to the greatest heist movie of all time, Now You See Me and Now You See Me Too?
I still haven't watched those, so I don't know.
They're terrible. I imagine that this is kind of like that.
This is going to be what
I go in knowing that.
Yeah, like really stupid, but like kind of fun, but you hate yourself.
I love Now You See. I love that movie.
There it is. There you go.
See, I think
there you go.
I love Now You See because I think they're corny and I think they're fun and they're over the top. They're not serious. I can turn my brain off and actually enjoy it. I'm not saying they're good movies. They're
they're not trying to rewrite the wheel or anything. It's just
no.
Right.
I'm never gonna fucking hear the end of that.
I just want to make sure it's in every one of the clips you put on the other channel.
Damn it!
Every one of the 15-minute clips on Zorro and whatever the Lift movie, whatever the fuck this is.
Real quick, Mike, I forget. Did you see this one?
I did not see this one.
Okay, Gil, what did you think of Lift?
I didn't see it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, you
Joey
told me
C,
if it's between Saltburn or Lift, you said to watch Saltburn.
Good call.
Yes.
Good call.
Yeah,
Joey C, what did you think of Lift?
I do love the action heist genre. It's like one of the best ever. And I will say something positive. I think Kevin Hart mingled well with the rest of the cast, but I feel like they were trying way too hard to be funny in this movie. And it was a movie where you could like turn your brain off, and it was like decent, but like it wasn't anything good.
Maybe I didn't turn my brain off enough because Kevin Hart was awful in this.
I did well for this.
I'm starting to realize I haven't seen him in a lot of like non-comedic roles, and I'm sorry, this is not comedic. He kind of sucks playing serious.
Yeah.
What's the fucking Kingpin's name again?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, Vince D'Onofrio. I think he just wanted to do silly accents for a weekend. He's a master of disguise, but the joke is his like disguises suck. But the movie's not like funny enough to make you laugh about that. I don't care about the rest of his team. They all suck. He teams up with a CIA girl. The whole thing is they're trying to steal gold from a terrorist, played by Jean Reno. And it was nice seeing Jean Reno in a new movie. I just wish it wasn't this movie. The problem is everything looks terrible. Like, look at this. This looks so bad. The green screen is terrible. So they're basically using a plane to get onto another plane that's carrying the gold. All the plane sequences look like they're an Xbox 360 cutscene. I really hated everything. And like I said, Adam, you might have seen this movie before because it feels a lot like Heart of Stone. The secret like agent group doing crazy stuff. And Gil, you said a while back that Netflix put out something that felt like it had an AI written script foobar. This after watching Lift, I'm starting to think AI written scripts are real. Because this also felt really, really bad.
Aren't they supposed to be bad though? Like it's supposed to be turn your brain off, kind of good feel, like oh, it's silly.
No, heist movies can be good.
No, but yeah, they could be good, but they could also be fun bad.
What's up? Did you hang on? This thumbnail? Did you Photoshop the hand in this, or is that really what they did?
That's Netflix. That was
Netflix. My god, that's horrible.
That's an AI generated hand. 6 fingers
for sure.
But look, I just looked up a thing of like heist movies. I have like Inside Man, Inception, Baby Driver, Heat,
Italian Job,
original and remake, Ocean's 11.
Yeah, but go for like
8.
Fuck you, not Ocean's 8.
They're making a new one. They're making a new Ocean's movie.
And you know what? I bet you this movie's on par with Netflix's Red Notice, which I didn't watch.
I saw that.
Yeah, this is. I'm glad you liked it, Crystal. I really did not like it.
I also like just got done watching Me Time with Kevin Hart by accident. It just happened to be on.
Okay, so you were on like a Kevin Hart
I think that's what it was. I had fun watching that, and then I watched Lift like kind of right after that by accident. I didn't even know. I was like, oh shit, he's in this one too. Whoa.
I'm glad you guys are getting along again. It feels really uncomfortable when we're literally in between you.
When mom and dad are fighting.
Yeah, I didn't realize we're on both ends. It kind of worked out that way.
You guys should kiss and make up.
No, not for all the cameo
like
dollars.
On cameo.
Ew.
Sorry.
I will say, Crystal, we can agree on one thing.
Yeah.
It's not the worst Netflix heist movie we've seen because we've seen Army of the Dead.
Yes.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah, that is bad.
Sorry for reminding everyone that. By the way, Gil and Joey, they have Inside listed as a heist movie.
What? I guess it is technically a heist.
The heist is over like by the second minute in that movie.
Yeah, literally.
That's a heist movie. It's a heist movie. I agree.
I mean, the heist fails right in the beginning, and it's the guy dying slowly in an apartment.
5 seconds, yeah.
Still a heist, Tony.
I guess it is. I guess it is. Lift, it sucks. Don't watch it. Cancel your Netflix subscription. It is terrible. Okay, Damsel is Netflix new fantasy film starring Millie Bobby Brown. It's about a woman who is going along with an arranged marriage to help not only her family but her people, because where she lives, life is hard. Everyone's trying to pull their weight, but resources are low. So she's like, if I do this marriage, the wealth from this kingdom will help us. It'll be great. And she's on board. She's reluctant, but she's not like resisting it, which is usually what happens in this kind of story, which I thought was nice to see. She goes on to this. She does all these traditions that are involved in this new place. And then turns out she's secretly just, once she gets married, she's just a sacrifice for these royal assholes to a dragon played by that famous Irani actress with the raspy voice. And I forgot to write her name. I will look that up in a second. But yes, it's got action and adventure and double crosses and all that kind of stuff. Joey C., what did you think of this?
Minus the questionable CGI and actors who have a hard time doing it in an English accent. I kind of enjoyed this movie. The story seemed a bit fast paced, so like any sort of character development seemed to be out the window for this. But I think Millie Bobby Brown did fantastic, and historically have not been a fan. The story was like a nice mix of like adventure, drama, and a lot of twists. Actually, give this one a shot. I actually enjoyed this one quite a lot.
Okay, Gil, what did you think?
I liked it to a point. Like I thought it had a solid start where they set up this fantasy world. Like you said, the arranged marriage starts off on an okay foot where the prince is the pretentious prince you'd expect, but you see some connections between him and the Millie Bobby Brown character. They warm up to each other. And then there's a total tonal shift when she falls off that bridge. And then suddenly it becomes a fairly violent survival movie with fairy tale elements. And I thought that was a really cool setup. It kind of reminded me of some of the 80s kids movies you would see that are PG, but push the limits of a PG rating. But I thought that it started to run out of steam about halfway through, where the challenges she was facing in this survival scenario weren't challenging enough, I thought, and there just wasn't enough variety. Like a lot of climbing and crawling. And Joey, you already mentioned the questionable CGI, but honestly,
Sorry, what did you just drop, Crystal?
The cat. Okay. The cat was dropped.
Yeah. Okay.
Living
no cats on camera. I thought we learned this lesson a long time ago. Right.
I thought I just said something shocking. I was like, the questionable CGI. What?
Crystal's like, what the fuck? I worked on that CGI.
I would have forgiven the questionable CGI if the rest of it held up, but it wasn't bad. You know, I didn't, I like the first half better than the second half.
Okay, yeah. Doug, what did you think?
I hated this. I thought it was atrocious. Like this was, I'm so Joey, when you said it moved, this did not move. I rode that fast forward button through most of this movie. It was, the CG looks awful. Actually, the dragon looks pretty good. Everything else, like every sweeping landscape, the ship on the, like, I was shocked at the end of this when we saw a boat on water and a sky. None of it looked real. I will give a pass to Millie Bobby Brown because basically she's acting against a tennis ball on a stick. Like I have sympathy for what she's trying to do. This was horrible. And Tony, when you said that the dragon was voiced by someone, I thought they just put like the sea witch from the Little Mermaid's voice through an AI filter, and that's what came out. This movie's awful. I hated this so much. This is the worst. This is worse than Roadhouse. Sorry to spoil my thoughts on Roadhouse. It's worse than Roadhouse, not by much, but this is the worst thing you made me watch, Tony. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't think that, but okay. Real quick, the actress who does the dragon's voice is Shora Agdashalo. She has a very hard to pronounce name. But if you look her up, you'll be like, oh, I've seen that girl. Okay. And if you look up her credits, like that's why that voice was familiar. She pops up everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I know this movie's not for me. Like, if I showed this, and this is no offense to anybody that likes it, if I showed this to my 13-year-old daughter, she'd dig the hell out of this. Like she would love it. I guarantee you. I know it's not for me, but boy, I was so bored instantly watching this.
Crystal, I'm sure you won't be biased at all because this is a movie about a tough redhead. What did you think of Damsel?
Well, I thought she was beautiful as a redhead. I didn't hate it at all. I actually enjoyed it. It did feel a little long to me. Definitely felt longer than it should have been. And the CGI I couldn't stand. That kept distracting me. But I liked the story a lot, and I was definitely rooting for her at the end, especially at the very end with the dragon. Like that's what I was hoping to happen. And it was very fulfilling at the end. At first I was very questionable of how I was going to like this movie. I was like, oh, this is going to be such a fucking corny little fantasy. And then as soon as I saw the flip of as soon as she gets pushed, I was like, okay, this shit's going to get good. And I loved how violent it was. But yeah, I liked it. Didn't hate it. That's what I got.
Jess, what did you think?
See, I'm in the middle with this one. Well, I was entertained at some points. Other points, I'm like, really? So she's in the cave, and the dragon's like, I can hear you, and then she's like, oh, now you're quiet, and then like 2 seconds later she gets burned and she's like, and it's like she can still hear you. She can still.
I took that as like the dragon was kind of like fucking with her too.
Maybe
because a lot of them got to that safe space, and I think the dragon just liked to fuck with the girls.
I guess, but for me, I'm just any chance of like, girl, be quiet. Like she can hear you. Also, freaking love Simon. Just like,
oh yeah, that's what that kid in Jurassic World back then.
That's also what he was in. I was just like, I was distracted. I'm like, that's Love Simon. I know it's just probably Simon in the movie, but I'm like, no, that's just Love Simon throwing the girl into the pit, and then I do like the misunderstanding of like the dragon's like, yeah, they have to give me their 3 daughters, and then they have to work around like that. I liked, but it was just some of the other things. I'm like, okay, like.
I maybe I was just in a good mood, but I actually didn't mind the movie. I thought it was fine.
I watched this after Roadhouse, and I had fun with Roadhouse.
So like, the ending was very Game of Thrones-esque too, which I liked. But I also like a badass girl fucking with a powerful dragon.
You guys were talking about bad CGI. Doug, how many Netflix original movies do you watch?
I try and avoid them for the most part.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't try and avoid them. I just don't. They're not on my radar.
I think that movie Lift affected me more than I thought it did at the time. I knew there were CGI backgrounds in this, but at times I'm like, this is an appropriate place to use a CGI background. Like, that's fine. If they're not like in a living room or just a warehouse that's CGI, I'm like, no, Dragon Cave, I will accept CGI even on a lower budget. A ship on the water. Look, it's hard to film on the water. Like, I get it. I will accept that. But there's so many movies where they're like, I'm CGI'd into a living room because the actor couldn't be here today. Like, I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Overall, I thought it was fine. I learned, though, in this film that Millie Bobby Brown can't act. She's been getting by being a quiet person on Stranger Things who can't talk right. And then in the Godzilla movie, she just kind of looks sad. This one, like when she's talking, she feels like a first year like theater student. I'm like, oh my God, this is really bad. And actually, I might be disappointing you, Doug. All right, so I had to look up who her parents were because her dad produced this film. I'm like, okay, we got some nepotism going on here. Her mom's name is Kelly Brown, and I Googled it, and there's an actress.
No, it's not her. It's not.
I know. For a minute, I thought it was Kelly Brown from Hey Dude.
No.
But I think it's just, by the way, Kelly Brown from Hey Dude. You can't find any information on her, and you can't find any information on Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, you can. This is how much I like Hey Dude. They have conventions. She was just in Hartford.
Well, on Wikipedia, I couldn't find her, so I went through this whole thing thinking she was Hey Dude's daughter.
That's more than just liking Hey Dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love Hey Dude.
So anyway, yeah, overall, again, I think the movie is okay. The action was fun. It didn't, I guess it dragged for some of you. It didn't drag for me.
I like the ending.
Yeah, the ending was fun too. I just think she's actually fine when she was going through the cave and she had those nice quiet moments. It's when she's like talking out loud to herself. I'm like, oh, this is
I was just going to say that when she actually speaks,
yeah,
it's not so great, but her facial expressions, exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I agree. The words don't come natural to her.
Yeah.
My favorite visual scene was when she was climbing through the crystals. That was just cool. Pretty.
This does like who said this felt like a PG film? Was that you, Gil?
I said that.
Yeah. I get what you're talking about now. I'm like, yeah, this feels like something I would have rented on like a direct-to-video fantasy kids movie. Just again, like we said, with a bigger budget. So maybe that's why I felt a little nostalgic for it. But no, she's pretty bad when she talks in the movie. But I didn't hate it as much as Doug. Thought it was passable. But you're right, Doug. You are right. I feel like a teen girl or a younger girl, this would be a good one to show her because it's also not like, not to get like, woke or whatever. It's not like cringe. It never got cringe for me. It's a very multicultural fantasy world, but I'm fine with that. But she's not like, she's a tough lady girl, but she's not bitching about men the whole time. Like, oh, wow, it's been a minute since we had one of these. Yeah.
And she's not invincible. She gets hurt and there is a struggle for her, which.
And there's a reason.
Going in, I was. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, finish.
And I was just going to say, the movie starts with voiceover where she's like, there's lots of stories of damsels in distress. This isn't one of them. So I thought it was going to be a little bit like she's invincible and can take on anything. But it wasn't. She was an underdog, and you watched her struggle. So I thought it was good in that respect.
Yeah, and they like show that she lives in like a pretty shitty place, and she's like pretty, like she's like chopping wood and shit. I mean, I don't think that's gonna help you against a dragon, but it's better than just, oh, I'm a lady and now I know how to use a sword all of a sudden. And it's like, what? It's like, remember Pirates of the Caribbean? Keira Knightley in the second movie is like 6 months after the first movie, and she's able to wield 2 swords at once and kill people without looking. I'm like, where was this transition?
That didn't bother doing this. I don't like this.
I feel like the type of place that she was in, that working a sword and stuff like that would have been in her any type of training or something like that. That's that type of kingdom. It's not like, because when they go to the New Kingdom, they're like, oh my gosh, like it's basically princess treatment. She's never had that, which is pretty obvious. I think that wasn't her first time with a sword.
Yeah, no, like I never felt like, this is a stretch. But yeah, no, totally, for a Netflix movie, it's totally passable, which is more than I could say for a lot of Netflix movies, especially ones I watched recently. Next up is everyone's favorite CGI redheaded little monster. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a picture of Knuckles here. I don't know how that got in there. Woody Woodpecker from Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp. This is something I saw was a May release, and I went on Twitter and I said, should I put this on the list? And I assumed the same people who told me to review Frozen Empire picked this one, so here it is. Who saw Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp? Oh, good.
Parts of it.
Oh, good. Parts of it.
Yeah, I watched the whole fucking thing, Tony.
Yeah, look. I didn't want to do Knuckles because I still haven't seen Sonic 2. Because I don't give a shit about Sonic. I didn't care about that fucking movie. Jim Carrey wasn't even that good in it.
Sonic 2 wasn't bad.
Wow, that tunnel. You guys gotta stop calling into the show while driving.
Bad service.
So I was like, there he's back. So I'm like, I'm not gonna go into Knuckles because I haven't seen Sonic 2 and probably never will. And then I put Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp on, and I looked it up. It turns out it's a sequel. I'm like, well, shit, I guess I'm breaking my own rule. I didn't see the first one, but you know what? I kind of assumed I knew what would happen. So this is made by Universal. You know, they're just knocking out classics here. Their direct-to-video production, what is it called? Universal, like 1440 or something. Apparently, Mike, let me know, but apparently in Latin America, Woody Woodpecker is super popular.
Yeah, I think it's like a Brazilian company or something that puts those movies out. Like the first one was like, I think all filmed in Brazil or something.
Yeah,
something about it. Us brown folks likes, I guess. I don't know why.
There's only 2 people I know now who like it. You guys and Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld. Because there was that episode of Seinfeld where he wanted to hold up the Woody Woodpecker balloon and then it deflates on him.
And Jerry,
guys, that's all I know from Woody Woodpecker. I think I watched the cartoons as a kid. Joey C, what did you think of Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp?
God damn it. It's no Ernest Goes to Camp, I'll tell you that. I will now die young.
Few things are.
It's true. It's a masterpiece. I will die young now that I was forced to watch this movie. Some of the subliminal humor in this movie shocked me. This is for children, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
oh my God. This is horrible.
They try to put the jokes for parents, but like parents aren't watching this.
No, dude.
This is the movie they're not watching it with their kids. They're just putting the movie on and then they're like cleaning and in the other rooms.
So it makes sense that we have 4 adults right now.
I am angry. Like, I feel like Tony watching Detective Pikachu because I am angry thinking about this.
So, Kill.
This was fucked.
I bet you're a big Woody Woodpecker fan. You're probably working on your Woody Woodpecker timeline video, including every episode of the cartoon. How does this fit with the Woody Woodpecker franchise?
Well, you said timeline. Usually I reserve timeline for franchises that don't have a lot of depth, and it's really more about the plot, rearranging them into chronological order. Yeah. But I think this is better suited for the What Blank is Really About series, where you dive into the deeper themes. Because there's a spectrum of children's entertainment, right? You have stuff on the higher end where it's fun for kids, but still has some depth and some sophisticated humor for adults. In the middle, you have stuff that's stuff for kids, it's tolerable to adults. And then all the way on the other end, you have movies that are hyperactive, loud, and to adults, like just completely insufferable, which is what I assumed this would be. But if you look at it through a postmodern lens, Woody Woodpecker is a character who's meant to represent nostalgia in this case, because you're thinking about cartoons from a long time ago.
Analyzing that.
Summer camp, usually you would think the same thing, but in this movie, they've flip that on its head, because what are they doing at camp? It's math and science on one side. On the other side, it's basically military school, pushing kids to their physical limits. And Woody Woodpecker, who should be this lovable, nostalgic character, is only a nuisance who acts as a barrier, and it creates this ironic tension that goes throughout the movie. And I watched the first 15 minutes of this movie.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. It's like, even
really
for Tony,
for a loop there, Gil.
Gil, what
I was
the
like,
fuck?
you analyze this too fucking much, brother.
Well, Gil,
fucked up.
had you watched the whole movie, okay, jerk, you would have realized that this has a lot of similarities to Civil War, because both camps, the military camp and the STEAM camp. Okay, so it's STEM. What is it, like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics? Right. And I remember like 6 years ago, they said they were going to try to make it STEAM with arts, but I didn't think that actually took off. But according to this movie, it did. And they're sharing the same land because it was made by the same guy and left it to his 2 kids. But like the science camp is about to go under, and they have to participate in these games. So it is, again, another Civil War. And Gil, when I left Civil War, I came home and I started Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp, and I had to turn it off. I did finish it today, but I'm like, this is just too much Civil War for me. I need a break. Believe it or not, Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp was harder to get through because it looks so terrible. The CGI looks unfinished in parts. Sometimes Woody and Vinny the Vulture and Wally the Walrus, whatever they are, they look good, and other times they look like they're the wrong color.
Yeah, I felt like they put a lot of the budget into the Woody 3D model, and I got far enough to see the Vulture guy and the Walrus, and I feel like they looked a lot worse. Yeah, and I didn't think he looked good, but I feel like they spent their budget on him.
By the way, I heard the new Planet of the Apes movie. They're going to release a cut that's all the actors in their motion capture suits. Can I get that for Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp? I want to see what the walrus looked like.
We need that.
Mike, how did you feel about like the 5 minutes of Woody Woodpecker you watched?
I watched like 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so let's get it right, Tony.
You're probably on the edge of your seat. You want to know how it ends.
Yeah, I'm super curious. After the stream, going straight to finishing it off.
Now, I don't know anything that happened in the first movie, but the plot was easy to follow. I think I wasn't lost in the lore. I do want to say, poor Mary Louise Parker. I don't know if she had like a kid or something, but I don't know why she was in this movie. I feel like she was too big for this movie. But it kept bothering me, the head of the military camp. I'm like, who is that guy? And I realized it's Kano from the new Mortal Kombat, who was like the only good thing in the shitty new Mortal Kombat.
He wasn't bad in this movie. He kept me somewhat entertained in the 45 minutes I watched. Him and the Vulture were the most entertaining part of the movie.
Sorry, Buzz the Buzzard. I called him Vinny the Vulture, and I don't know where I got that fucking name from. That's not his name.
I was too mad to even notice.
That's some other movie you're working on after you were so inspired by this movie. You're like Vinny the Vulture, yeah.
I'm pitching Woody Woodpecker 3.
Dude, please don't.
Now, this movie is very generic and kind of boring. I feel like a kid would get bored. At the end, it's just like all the kids have to focus on what makes them special. And the girl's like, how do I do this obstacle course? I only like video games. And they're like, pretend it's a video game. And then there's like video game graphics. And then she's good at it.
Really slow. I thought it was like sped up. It was fucking
So
2 minutes.
No.
It's really slow.
Yeah. And then the rest of the movie is the Buzzard trying to kill Woody, but then it backfires. It's like, I feel like when I watch Woody Woodpecker cartoons, they were like 10 minutes long, and I think that's as much Woody Woodpecker as you need. I feel like an hour and a half of Woody Woodpecker is just a little too much Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
If you have a kid, don't make them watch this.
My nieces both came downstairs and couldn't care. They watched the movie for a few minutes. They're done with it. They'd rather watch Mean Girls and horror movies and shit. So they weren't into it.
Did you tell them? They're like, this is part of our culture.
This is our culture.
For some reason, we really like Woody Woodpecker. I don't know what it is about him. Also, his voice was really annoying, and I guess that's the point, but it was really grating on my ears. Speaking of Mortal Kombat, the Buzzard was played by Kevin Michael Richardson, the voice of Goro from the good Mortal Kombat movie. Yeah, do we have anything to say about Woody Woodpecker? Gil, I think you covered it really well.
For the love of God, can we move on? I hate this so much.
Under Paris. Now, I picked this because I was like, new shark movie. Real quick. Kaylee, did you watch this shark movie?
I literally hate you. I hate you so much right now. I don't like sharks, and they're very spooky.
Okay, Kaylee, go backstage and watch us talk about a shark thing without interacting. Cool. She's terrified of sharks. She's really afraid of sharks. So I heard that there was this shark movie about a shark that's swimming through the canals of Paris. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that's kind of stupid realistically, but that's a fun premise for a shark film. I'll see that. What I didn't know was that every goddamn shark attack was going to look like a cartoon piece of garbage, and that they were going to tack on some weird sci-fi element that I don't think the movie really needed. I think there's just sharks in the canal was enough. But instead, they're super evolved sharks. It's bizarre. Adam, what did you think of Under Paris?
Yeah, this was terrible. Honestly, a lot of Netflix movies are like this, where it starts with some promise. You get really good visuals, that 4K digital resolution, and they're out on the boat right away, and they jump in the ocean. I thought, okay, this is interesting. They're out in the garbage, and it didn't take more than like 3 minutes when those dumb fucking scientists jump in. They have no protection. They're not behind a cage or anything.
Yeah,
they're like, we're just gonna go poke like 12 Mako sharks. What's the worst that we know these sharks? What's the worst that could happen? And then the female scientist jumps in without a suit on. She's just holding her breath underwater and gets pulled hundreds of feet down with an anime line animation going on, like. And I said, oh my God, they killed her. This is kind of cool. No, she's fine, perfectly fine.
That's exactly when the movie lost me. I thought that, by the way, I turned because Kaylee was literally covering her eyes so she didn't have to look at sharks. So I took it off screen. Yeah. I'm with you, Adam. I was invested in the beginning. They had a cool setting with like the bunch of trash in the ocean. Yeah. And it was cool how they were like filming the shark in the murky water. And then the attack happens and it's a cartoon garbage thing and it makes no sense. And I'm like, what the fuck? Every time this movie starts to get suspenseful, they go overboard. They like make it too fast where I guess it's supposed to be unrealistic, but it like takes me out of the movie. Gil, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all of that. I think there were at least one moment that I thought was borderline effective. The scene in the catacombs where everyone's gathered, I thought was like the one part where they brought something. No, you didn't like it.
The premise was dumb.
It was dumb, but I'm trying to let the movie win me over. And that was one part where I was like, that's kind of interesting. And also there was one character who was really getting on my nerves. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, see, you were wrong.
That's true. I would agree with you if this movie even had a small amount of self-awareness or took a little bit of it more lightly. It's serious the whole
Tries
time.
to be.
Yeah, it's dumb Jaws. It has the same
You know what it
exact plot
reminds
as
me of?
Jaws, except for in Paris.
You know what you remind me of? Did you ever see San Andreas?
Yes.
The earthquake movie
Dwayne
where
Johnson,
I legit didn't know if it was a parody or taking itself seriously. I'm like, everyone's being so serious, but this movie's stupid. Gil, that scene, I had a problem with that scene. Okay, I know the shark could jump out of water and maybe grab people, but if a shark is attacking and you're not in the water, just move toward the exit. They are pushing each other to run toward the exit. It's like, but the shark is in the water.
I feel like that's what would happen in real life, though. If you have all these people crowded in an area with a slippery floor, I bet even more people would have died in real life.
I guess,
but people don't just get in a single file line. Like, I actually like that. You never see, usually when the cops come in a movie, just immediately chaos. And they're like, we have to do this in a calm manner. And they tried. There's just no way.
By the way, they had to keep coming up with excuses for people to be in the water. So one of the big things is that there's going to be a swimming competition, and the mayor wants it to go on, even though there's possible sharks. Now, they're ripping off Jaws, obviously. Yeah. But the problem is, like, it made sense in Jaws because it's like, hey, we need the beaches because that's our income. This is just a swimming competition. Also, at the beginning of the movie, they find out that there's World War II shells in the canal.
No, this is not just a swimming competition. She goes out of her way to say they spent like $1 billion, or it's going to bring in like $1 billion in revenue or something. It's like a huge Olympic-esque event.
But no one would be upset if you like relocate it because it's like, well, yeah, there's explosives in the thing. Yeah. You can move this. The economy is, I'm sorry, I don't think France's economy is built on the swimming competition. But yeah, so then you have people running and throwing them into the canal. It's so stupid. Joey, what did you think of this film?
Boy, another goofy ass movie. I agree with everything that you're saying. It seems like a fun, goofy movie to watch with friends, but I will say, of course, I watched it alone and I giggled the entire time.
Gee, I wonder why you giggled. I wonder why you fucking giggled.
No, it was the movie, man. It wasn't me. All I'm saying is, like, how does a massive shark live in the catacombs with hundreds of its children? Right? Like, where's the food source? Right?
Yeah, that's like, what is it?
Right? What's the ecosystem?
They're eating garbage.
I don't understand.
I mean, they're having kids when they're like 2 months old, they established.
Okay, so it's ripping off Godzilla 98, where they're just born pregnant and can reproduce.
But and it's ripping off Godzilla versus Kong. Because Godzilla King of the Monsters, they have the sonar device.
Yeah. They have that, and then at the end, it's like the end of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where they show like it's spreading. Oh, let me bring it back. Kaylee, the movie ends with sharks taking over the world. I gotta review a shark movie with her. Yeah, like I like the map of it just taking over the world. Also, France gets sunk because they blow up the canal. And there was
that was the only part I liked. It makes no sense at all. I don't know.
That would have been cool if it happened.
The water is just sticking around and not going back, but whatever. It was.
That would have been cool if it happened earlier in the movie, and like the whole movie is about sharks swimming through freaking Paris. Again, the supernatural thing was weird.
They didn't have a budget, Tony. They did that same shot that you brought up of the person getting eaten. That is 3 times they do that same bird's eye view shot.
Yeah,
and it's so jarring. One of them is a giant boat. He does it to.
All the digital effects. None of the characters have weight. They're just the shark. How fast is the shark? It has like a jet engine on its ass.
Well, it's like Neo from the Matrix. It's dodging bullets everywhere. It's wild.
Swimming through explosions. The shocks aren't affecting the shark, apparently. It could just swim right through an explosion.
So are you saying I can dodge bullets? He's talking to some of the Mako. Morpheus shark is like, no, you won't have to.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. You could skip under Paris. I think we're all in agreement there.
I would run out to see this one
Huh?
if it was in theaters.
You would run out?
Definitely.
It'll probably get a sequel. You know it will.
It's getting weirdly positive reviews. That's what threw me off before I watched it. And the
That's
audience
weird.
score on Rotten Tomatoes is 31%. Critic score is 68%. And I could swear I saw one review that was like, this enters the pantheon of movies like Jaws.
Oh my! How many reviews are? How many critic reviews are there? 20.
Adam,
37.
Adam, do your thing.
Watch
Do
me
your
shut
ro-
this. Watch me shut this thing down.
You do. You did it to Godzilla -1. Put under Paris in its place.
They
You might be
keep
able to
asking
move
if
into
I'm
Rotten.
back. Well, I'm thinking I'm
Get
back.
back. Real quick, Kaylee, do we sell this movie for you?
I can't wait to see it. I'm so sweaty. right now.
All right, we'll bring you back. I didn't even care about her answer. I just wanted to do that scare. She's still covering her. It's a picture of a shark. It's ridiculous. You shouldn't be scared of a picture of a shark. All right, next. I hope she's not scared of Glenn Powell. Next is Hitman, and I can finally bring in everyone's favorite Mint Salad. Hello, Mint.
Hello. Sorry, I had to figure out how to use the unmute button.
Yeah, if there's like an echo with the mic, I didn't think it through. We had some tech issues. Hitman tells the story of Glenn Powell, who's like he assists the cops in when they're trying to capture people for hiring hitmen. They're trying to entrap them, I guess. He assists the cops. One of the guys gets fired, so he has to end up pretending to be the hitman in these sting operations. Where are you going? She's going to the bathroom. We finally get to the movie that she can talk about. And she goes to the goddamn bathroom. Anyway, Glenn Powell has to pretend to be different hitmen to assist in these sting operations. He gets a little too into it. Also, you might remember Glenn Powell from The Dark Knight Rises. He was in that film. Other people were in that film. Do you guys know anyone else who was in that film?
What was
Somebody
Glenn
very
like
handsome.
in person, Tony? Did you guys get along?
I didn't work with him in that scene. Sorry, but I think he'll have respect for me if we ever meet each other. But yeah, he gets a little in over his head because he ends up falling for one of the girls that he was supposed to arrest. And I didn't know what this movie was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a wacky comedy, but I love that the rest of the film is him just getting into more and more trouble and trying to figure out a way to claw his way out of it without like getting fired or arrested. I had a really good time with this. It was more clever than I thought it would be. Adam, how did you feel?
It's just nice to see Glenn Powell getting some work finally. I mean,
Yeah.
what else has he been in besides literally everything coming out? He's got Twisters. He was in the new Maverick.
Yep.
He was in Anyone But You or whatever that was called with Sydney
Yeah.
Sweeney. This guy is just unshakable at this point.
And I knew that. I knew that when I saw him in The Dark Knight Rises. I'm like, that guy's going to go places. And I'm sure he said the same thing about me when he saw my scene.
Yeah. I didn't see this.
Oh, God. I thought you saw it. Sorry. My bad. All right. Joey, what did you think of Hitman?
I went in thinking this was going to be like an action comedy, kind of like what you said, but it's like pretty much a romance almost, which of course isn't very manly. But watching Gary do his like whole Master of Disguise classic film was
shut
awesome.
up. That movie's so bad.
Nobody likes that movie. Dana Kirby doesn't like that movie.
I feel like they seem to focus like so much on the romance. Like, all right.
I'm sorry. Mint, can you put him on screen? Mint was in the bathroom. She had Manny Muskets, who I did not invite to my house, show up. Stay there. Jesus Christ. What the hell is happening to this show? Mute the mic. Joey C, continue talking about.
Okay. So I feel like Gary and Miranda, I think was her name. They have sex I think they have sex once, right?
Yeah.
Or like hook up or whatever. So it's super weird to see like Gary risk everything to cover for this girl. And I feel like they like fucking barely knew each other. Like if they were, all right, let me get into spoilers. Should we do spoilers?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. She drugs a cop in their own house and Gary is just cool with it. And then they have sex right? And then boom, a family and happily ever after. I just don't know, man. I'm very confused. I feel
he gets away with it at the end. I couldn't believe it.
I'm so fucking confused, man.
Gil, how'd you feel about this one?
I think, Joey, that all stems from Richard Linklater. He's the one who did Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and all those movies, right? And they were all inspired by like one night he had where he fell in love with this girl in this overnight experience and didn't see her for years. I feel like so many of his movies are inspired by that experience. So he's like, it happens, love at first sight.
I've had that plenty of times.
I will say, this is the hot girl from Morbius, which that's pretty much the only thing I'd say about more. And she was in Andor, which is a show I swore I never watch, but I watched the first goddamn episode to do Adam's stream the other night, and all you fuckers tell me it's the best thing in Star Wars ever. I need an apology from all of you, because that was a friggin' snooze fest. Anyway,
Tony, the best thing in Star Wars is still ongoing. It's called The Acolyte.
Oh, God.
Just, popped 5 episodes out of its ass. we got a couple more to go.
But Gil, did you enjoy the movie? Or?
No, I did. I think, like you guys both said, you thought it was going to be an action, goofy kind of comedy. And for the first 20 to 30 minutes, maybe less than that, but for the first like 20 minutes, I still thought that because it felt like the movie was trying really hard to be funny. Like the one scene where he's about to go in for his first Hitman gig and he's wearing shorts. They're like, you're going to wear that? Let's switch pants. The other guy puts the shorts on and he's like, these are actually pretty comfortable. And he starts kicking his legs out and stuff. And I was like, this is so corny. But once the movie started taking itself a little more seriously, then I really enjoyed it. It was fun to see Gary Johnson and his different disguises and just the deeper he got into it. And at certain points, I started to fall for it. Like you start to forget who he really is, and he's really just playing this role the whole time. And there were moments that were intense when, how's he going to get out of this? And there were also moments of comedy when it felt like it wasn't trying to be funny, but it just ends up in such a bizarre situation. And to see how is he going to talk his way out of it. So weird start, but in the end, I enjoyed it.
Mid Salad, what did you think of this film? The only film you watch, and also thank you for letting someone break into my house.
You're very welcome. But also, Glenn Powell, that's the actor's name, right?
Yes.
It just kind of reminded me of like an acting chops reel. It's like, oh, I can be like this guy, or I can be like this guy, because he's completely different people with Gary and Ron. So immediately it's like, okay, so this guy is advertising for his acting ability. And then, oh yeah, I'm a science, not a science teacher. I'm a professor. And my part-time gig is that I do undercover hitman work. That's so weird. Who has time for that? No one has time for that. Apparently he has infinite time. But he decides to let a chick off because, oh, okay, she seems abused. And I saw this, so I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then, like, seeing her behavior was just, she seemed crazy. I'm like, well, she is really crazy because she
was kind of a bad guy.
She is kind of a bad guy. She was like, oh, I'm attracted to the fact that you kill people for money. And I'm like, I would not hook up with you, chick. No. And then he's like, and then freaking Gary's like, oh, let's start a relationship. And I'm like, why are you doing this? She's crazy. And then, like, he feels the need to pull a gun on the husband when they're in an alleyway. And I'm like, stop it. I know you guys are going through the divorce, but still, like, you don't need to pull a gun out. You barely know this chick. And then they, like, commit that murder together. And I'm like, well, she drugs the guy. What was his freaking name again? It was the guy who was like, oh, you guys are actually dating. You need to tell the police this. What's that guy's name? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It was the ginger. It was a ginger with the big beard. And I'm like, nobody's going to question the fact that you murdered this man. Oh, yeah, no one's going to look twice at him. I'm like, he's a person. Someone would look twice at him. But I don't believe it at all that they got away with this. And then it showed that they did get away with it, and I'm like, I want to know the details and how they got away with murder. Okay.
Tony, you're muted.
You're muted.
Well, I don't need to see the movie now. I just got a perfect breakdown of it.
Happy 300 episodes. I'm so glad Mint was here. I was like, I'm just going to let her take the reins on this one. So I guess Mint didn't like it. Am I getting that right?
I mean, I had like mixed feelings at first. I was like, oh, this is kind of corny. And then I was like, oh, this is actually getting kind of good. And then the ending was like, well, can you fix the plot things, please? And it didn't. So I hated it again. I hated it, then liked it, then hated it again.
Alrighty. Well, that was it for Hitman. I say check it out. It's on Netflix. And here we go. Oh, hello, Crystal.
Hi. You can hear me okay, right? I have no idea if this is set up right.
We can hear you. How's the weather in Florida?
Just a hurricane. It's cool.
Nice.
Oh, I sure hope nothing bad happens. I hear that interferes with internet, but let's try to be positive, okay?
No, it's on the other side, so I'm happy.
Well,
we're just getting one.
Well, let's pray that it gets. I mean, this is you. Hi, Crystal. How is Florida going?
It's great. It's great. I'm sorry I didn't have my computer set up. I've been really busy with my new job, going to the beach, going to the pool.
Yeah.
Relaxing in the sun.
Put those in with job, you asshole.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad you're here because we finally got to one that you watched, Terminator Zero.
I did.
Okay. I found out about this a few months ago. It was like Netflix, anime. I'm like, well, I don't care for both of those things usually. But then they went Terminator, and I went, okay, I'll check it out. It seems to be removed from all the John Connor stuff, which I like. This tells the story of a family in Japan. It's right before Judgment Day, original Judgment Day. So 1997, original first movie timeline. And it's about how like humanity is dealing with robots. We see the future war, and Skynet going after people, like stuff that you've seen before. But in the past, we have this scientist who has developed his own AI, and he's developed it because he knows about Skynet, and he has to persuade it to counter Skynet's AI. So yeah, there's this whole ticking clock element of like, are they going to stop Judgment Day or not? Are they going to change things? It's got fun action sequences. I only got 4 episodes in, but I am pretty much hooked on it. Especially episode 4, the way it ends. Like I'm on pins and needles. I want to see where it goes. We did a what is the worst Terminator episode a few years back. And look, I got a soft spot for 3, but after that, it really takes a sharp dive off a cliff. But that's why I wanted to check this out. Does Terminator, other than that one TV show, it hasn't really gone in too many. It's never gone in animation as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, Joey, what did you think of Terminator Zero?
Big Terminator fan. This was fucking awesome. Also, side note, I also have a soft spot for 3. Great one.
Ooh, 3 is fun. 3 is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah. Zero is like, it's great because it has like the best world building since I think like Terminator 2. And I think this like fresh new AI plot like breathes new life into the series. And I feel like moving this to a series format was best because there's so many time traveling paradoxes and holes that are just so confusing and hard to fit into like a 2-hour movie. I only watched a couple of episodes, but I'm actually really excited to watch more. This is really fucking awesome. I've never watched anime before, and I really don't watch any animation since Woody Woodpecker, of course. But yeah, this was
since
great,
the last
man.
time you've watched it because you've watched it so many times.
This was awesome, man. It's no Woody Woodpecker, but it's pretty damn good.
Gil, where did you land on Terminator Zero? Is it the best Terminator since 2?
Yeah, I think there's no question about that. It's admittedly not a super high bar, but I like this show a lot. I think I stopped just short of loving it, and I think I can kind of encapsulate why in one scene from episode 1, where it's a rainy day, Malcolm is driving to the office, and then he sees this robot walking across the street, And it's very melancholy because he knows Judgment Day is right around the corner. And the robot kind of turns and looks at him and they make eye contact. It's very melancholy music. It's very foreboding. It's a great vibe. And then the driver goes, "There's a storm coming in." And Malcolm's like, "You have no idea." So I think some of the dialogue's a little bit cringy.
I mean, that is how the first Terminator ends, Gil. There's a storm coming, and then Sarah's like, "You have
"There's
no
a storm
idea."
coming" is okay. And then tagging it with like, "You have no idea." That's just like in the Continental where they're like, "Do you have any luggage for us?" And she's like, "Oh, you have no idea."
That's what they do in her. I'm annoyed because it was a callback that you didn't really need. There is one where the girl goes, "He'll be back," and I'm like, "Huh, okay."
Yeah, but the thing is, there's a lot of storytelling and dialogue like that where it's a little bit clunky. Like I would say the entire storyline where Malcolm's talking to the AI, I love the concept of it.
Yeah.
There are some great emotional moments in their conversation, but when you actually listen to the words they're saying, I think I can imagine a great version of this, but it would have to be written by like a great sci-fi writer, like Arthur C. Clarke or something, where it's a guy arguing on behalf of humanity with an AI. But I feel like in this show, too often, it just sounds like it was written by an angsty teen that just discovered nihilism, where she's like, "Name one good thing humanity has ever done." He's like, "Kokoro, I can't do that." And so you can't name one thing. So it's a little bit cheesy in the storytelling sometimes, but I think on vibes with the acting and some of the action is great. I love that they bring back the horror elements where the Terminators will often have this very uncanny valley look on their faces because there are certain points where they try to fit in and it's just super creepy. So overall, I liked it. It was actually, so Mattson Tomlin ran this show and he worked on the Batman. I almost felt about this very similar to how I felt about that movie, where if you dig into the substance, it kind of falls apart a little bit, but tonally it's so good and I enjoy it all the way through. It's just when you start to pick it apart, some of it falls apart.
Well, now, Crystal, what are your thoughts? I don't know. Do you like Terminator? Do you watch the movies? I don't even know. But what do you
No,
think
I'm a
about
girl.
it?
I don't watch action movies.
Do you even like robots?
Do you even know
What's
what
a robot?
is?
I'm confused. I loved it. I actually had no idea. I just saw the list of your movies, Tony. I didn't look into any single one of them. I had no idea what any of them were. Didn't look at a preview. Didn't look at even a description. Any of them. So I turned this on. I was like, "Oh shit, it's a cartoon, sweet!" And it was like it's animated as anime. And I was like, "This is awesome." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch one episode. I don't have time to watch the others." I binge watched the entire season. I couldn't help it. I was hooked in the first 5 minutes. I at first thought it was nothing but a gory action anime. And then all of a sudden there's this story that's developing. And I was like, "Oh shit, like this is definitely a little bit more intense and involved than I was anticipating." And I just got hooked more and more because the story was definitely evolved every single episode.
Wait, I had a question. Girl who goes back in time to fight the Terminators. Did I miss something? Is she enhanced like the lady in the last Terminator movie? Or is she just a normal lady?
There's no indication that she's enhanced or anything.
Well, here's an indication. The Terminator is like punching her in the spine. I'm like, she should be dead.
That was one of my complaints with the action, is that I feel like the Terminators in general are too weak and a little bit inconsistent. Like when the first episode started, they do the classic thing where the Terminator's shooting at her with a machine gun and she's running and all the bullets are landing right behind her. And I was like, as a robot, shouldn't you know? You don't shoot where they are, you shoot where they're going to be.
Well, they also talked about later that the Terminators aren't perfect. And they definitely take the worst of humanity, but I don't think that they're truly perfect, because if they were, they would have already destroyed humanity.
Yeah.
Like there's clearly some things, because they keep doing that loop where they are going back in time and just kind of cycling over and over the same thing, but yet they don't succeed. So there definitely is some imperfection, which I do like, that they're not the perfect human, destroyers. I definitely do agree that some of the lines were cheesy, but it didn't bother me. It kind of brought the seriousness kind of back. I had a little bit more fun with it. because there was a lot of seriousness in it, especially with the kids. But I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting seeing that like robots already exist in the 90s, because that was, as far as I can tell, was never part of like the lore really. So that was kind of fun to see. Yeah, but really it was the conversations, even though could have been better written, between him and the AI. What?
It says Rosario Dawson. Who was Rosario Dawson's voice?
She was the AI, Kokoro.
She was the AI.
What?
Yeah.
Apparently, Timothy Oliphant the Terminator? Because I haven't heard him say a goddamn thing.
He doesn't talk very much.
Yeah,
yet.
doesn't talk
Why
basically
even
at all.
get him? What the hell?
Well, I kind of felt the same way about Rosario Dawson afterward. I'm like, she did a great job, but her voice is like so modified to sound like a robot.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I don't know that you needed her necessarily, but she did a good job.
I had no idea until I just saw that.
Yeah.
Until I saw the top. What did you guys think of the ending, though? Do you think it ended well?
I didn't get to the ending.
I haven't
Not
seen
yet.
it.
Anyone who actually watched it.
Yeah, I saw it to the end. I mean, I liked the ending. I think it works okay as a total ending. But I would like if they continue it on to a second season. Like he said, Mattson Tomlin, that he wants like 5 or 6 seasons of it.
I could see that. I mean, it leads off as if there's going to be more,
For sure,
especially
yeah.
the very last shot. I think the very, I don't want to spoil it, but right
Please
before
don't.
the end, when the big part happens,
Yeah, don't.
I wasn't the happiest of how that happened.
Yeah, I
That's
think
enough secretive, but not spoiling.
Crystal, the rule on this show is to not spoil anything except for that Kate Blanchett turns into a Firebird. That's the only thing we're allowed to spoil on this episode.
Yeah, I think if I'm thinking of the right thing, Crystal, I think I remember feeling like there were sometimes unclear stakes for big moments. So when they
Yes.
happened, they didn't land properly.
I
And
agree.
then it's like
I agree.
the music and the visuals somehow override that, and they get me to feel what I'm supposed to be feeling.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know why I'm feeling this, but I feel it.
Agree 1,000%.
But you're right, because I'm a bigger fan of the first Terminator movie. More people like the second one. So what you were saying about bringing the horror elements back, I like that when like they basically redo the scene where he goes through the police station from the first film. But it's way bloodier. The action is top notch. I love like the whole truck chase. That was really cool.
The anime is just beautiful. The style of anime, beautiful.
It's very well animated. It looks really, really great. Yeah, and one thing that's got me in the mood recently for this, I can't find my copy of it, but I went back and got the game Terminator Resistance. It's from the same people who did RoboCop Rogue City, which I loved last year. Everyone told me to go back and check out Terminator Resistance, and thank you for the recommendation. That game is great. So I had just started playing that like coincidentally, so I'm like in Terminator mode. So that really enhanced my viewing of this. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to finish the season. They got something good here. And like whenever a Terminator thing comes out that doesn't suck, everyone says it's the best thing since part 2. But for me, I do think this is the best thing since part 2. Because that's how people were pitching Dark Fate to me, guys. They were like, Tony, you got to see Dark Fate. And I went, why? The last 2 were really bad. And they're like, no, it's the best one since 2. And I'm like, that means absolutely nothing to me. The last 2 were really bad. And guys, I watched Dark Fate, and it was really bad. It was really bad. But that girl being enhanced, who we're about to talk about in the next film, is why I thought maybe this chick was enhanced. Because, like, the Terminator's punching her in the back. I'm like, isn't he, like, 3 tons? Shouldn't her spine be shattering? But yeah, that's all I got to say on Terminator. It's really, really good. Apparently, the whole series is good, so check it out. And next up, oh god, sorry, I forgot to show a picture of that guy and that guy. Oh, I had slides to talk about the things we were talking about. There's an example of the gore. Crystal,
there's way better examples of the gore. Are you kidding me?
I know.
Oh my god, the gore was another level.
It was pretty cool.